You heard me speak here in the last month and a half, 2 months, of a little girl whose name is Melo. I told you she played the part of Peter in my drama. This past week, I received a letter last Friday night, and he said, "You were in my dream. I dreamt of you, a devil, Mom, Dad, my sister, and me." Mentioned 6, including herself. He said, "My dad was going to be tortured by a devil. And the devil had 2 long horns on top of his head, and the longest tail on earth. And he had a fork. And on the fork was a picture of fire. And then he had a spoon, and your picture was on it. And under the picture was the word enemy. And I knew why. I knew that you were all loved, and everybody on earth loved you. Mostly me. He was all hate. And then my dad was tortured. It took place under the ground. He was hung on a string between 2 poles. And suddenly you appeared with my sister in your arms. And as you appeared, the devil screamed and faded. And then Mom went over to you to give you a kiss of thanks. And you faded. And she went, "Uh." She seemed so confused and went, "Uh." And then a voice said, "He is what others call dead. He is what others call a spirit. He is what we call," and now comes out, "the God in us. He is what others call dead. He is what others call a spirit. He is what we call God in us." And then she said, "I awoke. Yours truly, Melo." Now, in all these wonderful visions, there's always a central point. Forget the devil, forget all these things. You can put them all together. One simple thought in that, when she said, "Mostly me," that was the entire dream. That was the entire vision. Here, she mentions 6 characters, including herself. She mentions the devil, who is all hate. She mentions me, all love. And the world, everyone loved me, because I was loved. And then my appearance caused the devil to vanish. My mother wanted to kiss me and thank me because her husband, Dad, was saved when I appeared, and the devil vanished. By that simple little statement, "Mostly me." I'm quite sure this little child is not familiar with Scripture. I don't think she knows the last chapter of the book of John. In fact, 2 people do. It's an epilogue, for the book ends on the 20th chapter. And the 21st chapter is an epilogue, as the first 18 verses is a prologue. And the last chapter, an epilogue. And this is the risen Lord. And he appears unto the disciples. And he turns to Peter. And Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Peter, son of John, do you love me more than these? Do you love me more than these do?" That's the literal translation, meaning the others. And he answered, yes, Lord, you know I love you. And then he said a second time, Simon Peter, son of John, do you love me? And again he says, yes, Lord, you know I love you. Now the first time he said, feed my lamb. The second time he said, tame my sheep. And the third time he asked the same question. Simon Peter, son of John, do you love me? And then he was a bit irritated. He asked the same thing 3 times. And said, you know all things, Lord, and you know I love you. Then he said, feed my sheep. Here we find the parallel between the 3 denials of the Lord, of Peter, and the 3 questions, and then the 3 conditions imposed upon him. You feed my lambs, you tend my sheep, you feed my sheep. And here she finds in the very last the 3 states of the voice